Now introducing the Minor Wisdom Trio! Minor Wisdom!
Hey. So I've got Shelby Cozart on this week. And this was, even she was surprised when I reached out to her, but this is somebody that's on the podcast Pimp list. And for a while, I'm going to have 2 more episodes, and I might take a little bit of a break. There it is. I might not. I don't know. But I will tell you this, that next week's episode, the intro is going to be a little different because I'm going to be out of town. I leave Monday, early Monday morning. I like driving actually at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. 3:30 in the morning. There's not a soul in sight. But I like leaving to go to Commerce early in the morning because I'm a morning person, a morning girl. Hooray. And I enjoy driving at that time better than like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Less people on the road, not as hot. I can stop at Buc-ee's and get in and get out. It's just much better for me. I like it more gooder. So anyway, I say all that to say that I'll be at Lion Theater Camp in Commerce for 2 weeks. So, or really it's more like something like 12 days or something like that. But I'll be there, so I won't be at my normal spot to record an intro. So next week it'll sound a little different, but it's a big interview next week, Jerry Blake, and that might be the last one for a while. I don't know, man. I've got an idea that I'd like to sort of add to this podcast because I get bored very easily. I just had a conversation with a phenomenal person named Jennifer Gilbert. Not a role playing thing. It's not somebody else. It's not my wife with a different last name. It's another Jennifer. Seems to be a popular name. But anyway, she was asking me about if you've been so bored, if you get bored with things, how is it that you have stayed married so long? And we were talking about that because my anniversary is this week, my 13th anniversary. So, but truth be told, I've been bored with my Jennifer for years. It's just expensive. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm kidding. Only a couple of months was I bored with her. So, but it's, just one of those things that boredom sets in and things need to change for me. And that is the case with this podcast a little bit. So I might change some things up, might go seasonal, might do like 10 episodes and then call it quits for like 10 weeks. I don't know, man. I don't know. Right now, though, it's just not as, it's just the passion isn't as strong as it was. You know what I'm saying? Kudos to Eric Campbell for moving on to Performing Arts Supply. That's good for him. It's good for them. Creates a little more friction between Performing Arts Supply and my now fantastical job at Covenant, which doesn't start till August 1st. And the only reason it's not starting until then is because of this whole thing at Commerce, me trying to complete a degree, another one. And I'll talk more about Commerce if you want to talk to me about Commerce privately. I'm not going to give any sort of opinions on the podcast, which probably gives you an idea of what my opinion is all around, right? There's some little positive things here and there that I really enjoy, but we can talk about that off the record, if you know what I mean. If you want to reach out, if you're thinking about going to get a master's degree, let me know. And I've already been to 2 different colleges in the state of Texas to get 2 different master's degrees. Almost done with one, completed another in, where is it? 2017. I had to look at the degree on the wall. So anyway, that's that. Shelby Cozart this week. This was a fun chat. I had no idea who Shelby was. Next week I had worked with Jerry Blake a little bit, so I knew a little bit what to expect with her. But with Shelby, nothing. I knew nothing. And it was this, she is one of those reasons why I really enjoy doing this podcast because I'm getting to know somebody that A, should get to be known, and B, I never knew, right? So it was really fun to chat with her. We are now Facebook BFF. I don't know if that's true, but we're friends on Facebook. So, yeah, I think that's about it. To all the people that did Towels Camp, awesome. Destiny Miller, that's kind of her last hurrah, I think, unless she's doing something else, but I don't think she is. So she has her goodbye party soon. Not going to say when, but I'm going, and it's going to be lit af, as the kids say, bussin', bussin'. You know what I'm saying? I have got to wrap up this intro, not because you want to get onto the interview, but because my office has turned into the playroom for my kids when they're playing with Legos. Turns out I really like Legos more than I thought I did. And so I build things out of Legos, and then the kids come in here and play with those things. I don't want them to, but they're cool. So my kids and the Legos. So, yeah. So daddy's office is now Legoland for my children. Anyway, all right. Well, hey, I hope everybody had a great week. I don't think anything happened. Oh, the strike, that's big news. The SAG-AFTRA strike with the Writers Guild. Hopefully that ends sooner than later. In the positive side of the actors. And look, here, let me speak on this. There are a small percentage of actors that get paid just fine, right? We know who they are. Tom Cruise is not out on that picket line because he's worried about his paycheck, right? But that's a really small portion of actors, really small. And one of the biggest things that they're fighting for is this AI thing where an actor comes in for an hour, gets paid $100, and then that company, Disney, most notably, uses their likeness for everything. They own it, And so I completely understand why that's kind of a no-no. But if you're thinking, man, actors, shut up and just go get to work, you get paid plenty. It's not, those aren't the actors that are really, I mean, Fran Drescher's the president. What has Fran Drescher done in the last 15, 20 years, right? Not much. So, and she's the president. So I'm not saying that to knock Fran Drescher. I'm saying like the majority, 99.9% of actors don't get paid like Tom Cruise, Matt Damon, Brad Pitt, um, you know, Julia Roberts, I'm sure she's still residualing. But anyway, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Enjoy this week's interview. Bobby, what's your deal, man? Nothing? Okay. Love you. Bye.
I have wanted to teach theater since I was 13 years old, since I was in eighth grade. I was in, like the middle school advanced theater class. I'm from Red Oak, so I had Katrina Keener. A lot of people know her. But she used to have us student direct little shows once we were done with, whatever else we were doing. And I was co directing a show with my best friend at the time. And she came and sat down next to me and she was like, "Have you ever thought about teaching?" And I was like, that might be fun. So I kind of thought about it and I mulled over it a little bit and I was like, yeah, I think I want to do that. And then I actually stuck with it, which is kind of cool because that was a really young age to kind of decide what I wanted to do. Um, I, of course, did theater like through the rest of middle school, all throughout high school. I considered other things. I considered teaching dance instead. But I just ultimately settled on theater. I went to Texas State. So I graduated from high school and went to Texas State University. And I was a teacher cert. So I majored in, they have like a special theater education program, which I really highly recommend to anyone wanting to teach theater. It's a really incredible program. I have a lot of respect for the head of the program, Velasta Solhavy. She's really great. So I went to Texas State, minored in theater education. Graduated with everything I needed, and I started teaching right out of college at South Belton Middle School. I was there for 5 years. I just finished up year 5 and I loved it. Next year I'm moving to Lake Belton High School, and technically I'm taking a tech position with Ty Carter, but the way we kind of have it set up, which I'm really excited about, is that we're kind of co-directing and co-teching almost everything. So I'm really excited. I'm grieving leaving middle school a little bit, just because that's been, my heart and soul for 5 years now, and I love middle school. I think they're so fun. But I'm really excited for high school. I'm excited to have a teaching partner because that's something I didn't have in middle school, and I'm excited for like actual facilities and working with a different age group. I like to switch things up, after a while. So yeah, so that is my journey thus far.
Yeah.
And then oh, if I did not mention my high school theater director, I would be doing such a disservice, because she did a lot for me once she found out I wanted to teach theater, and I feel like I went into college knowing a lot because of her. So in high school she would have me like learn the boring stuff, like the paperwork and tips and tricks, and hey, like this is what they say to do, but this is what you should actually do, and things like that. So I had Angie Hallmark in high school, and she was amazing. So really it's just been a series of women that have pushed me along and kept me inspired. And yeah, so I guess that's my journey. It was a little rambly, but there it is.
No, that's good. That was actually rather short and sweet for some theater teachers can be very long-winded. I will not name names, but so real
Yes, I
quick,
know this to be true.
let's get this out of the way. So Sarah Renkum?
I do.
Okay,
Sarah's one of my best friends. I'm actually
okay.
going to see her in like a week because she just had a
See,
baby.
yeah. So I had the pleasure of starting to get to know Sarah. I think her junior year of high school. So she did some shows, and I adore Sarah, and glad that she's on the move, and kind of taking a break for a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't imagine that baby's gonna turn out anything less than stellar and amazing at anything.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Yeah, she has
uh,
the best set of
yeah,
parents.
two great
It's gonna
parents.
be
So,
such.
but Sarah Kelly now, what a very generic, boring American name. But
Yes.
so anyway, that's funny. But so what is your kind of tech specialty? You mentioned that you're technically the tech director, but you're going to be splitting things.
Yeah.
What's your thing?
I'm pretty good with sound,
Okay.
and then like hair and makeup. Um, and I'm decent on lights. The thing I guess, the most not worried, I guess a little. The thing I'm most concerned, I guess, about is building,
Yeah.
like the sets and stuff. But like I can do basic stuff, but I guess that's just what I've had the least experience with,
Right.
because obviously we weren't like building things. And well, I say obviously, but it's obvious to me because I know my space
Yeah.
from South. But I wasn't building stuff in middle school. Um, like I haven't really built anything since college. So I'm excited because I always kind of wanted to grow in that area. Um, but I'm just a little nervous. But I know that the kids are so capable, and Ty is going to help me, and it'll
Yeah.
be fine. That's the thing. I'm kind of been watching YouTube videos and
Yeah.
trying to like brush up and stuff a little bit. So
I was just about to say that because I met with some people yesterday, and one of the topics of conversation was there's so many YouTube videos out there now,
yeah.
that almost do the job for you as far as teaching. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, stick with those YouTube videos. That's a smart thing. I will say, I don't know. I mean, you're younger. I hate the people that are like, "Oh, you're so young, you don't even know." But if you don't know the name Bob Vila,
Oh,
okay, so Bob Vila was, man, I don't know, 80s, 90s. He was a builder on TV. He was kind of like Bob the Builder in person.
yeah.
He might have even been the inspiration for Bob the Builder, but because they have the same name. But I don't know. Anyway, but there are old YouTube videos of Bob Vila, and he's building houses, so it's a
Hmm.
little different. But there
Yeah.
are some of the same things, and they're really good videos. But anyway,
I'll have to check that out.
that's just a he does some stairs really nicely. Anyway, enough. He's paying me a lot of money to mention.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. So what is it that about high school students? You mentioned that you like a change, and I totally understand that. I'm the same type of person. But what is it about high school students that you're looking forward to, and what is it that you're going to miss from middle school students?
I'll start with what I'm gonna miss about middle school because I've been that's been heavy on my mind lately. I was just able to tell my kids like 2 days ago, and I had to do it through email because I didn't know until the summer that I was moving to high school. And that was really, really hard. Um, because like obviously like I've been with these kids, like the kids going into eighth grade, I've had them all 3 years, and like preaching to the choir. All the theater teachers know, like those are my babies. So um, I just think middle school is such a fun age. Every time someone asks me, like, "Oh, middle school, like, how do you like it?" I always say, like, they're terrible, and I love them so much. They just they're in that really sweet spot of like, they just went to elementary school. They're still young, and they're still a little sprightly and stuff, but they also are transitioning into, that higher level of development and thinking. And it's just a really fun in between. They're so spirited, and they just really just say everything they think. And I know some people don't love that, but I do. I don't know. They're just middle school is special. Um, but what I'm excited about going to high school, um, I'm excited to and I don't want this to sound like middle school is, I feel like middle school gets discounted a lot of what they're able to do. Like middle school can do higher level shows and stuff as well. But I'm excited to kind of be able to dig deeper into material and, do a little bit higher level thinking stuff. And it's just, different. It's just a different
Yeah.
age, and they're able to have different conversations. And I'm excited about that. I also love the idea of like having them right before they're sent off into the world, and getting to teach them about life things and that kind of stuff. I direct at a camp at Texas State in the summers
Yeah.
with high school kids, and I love it. It's so much fun. We do devised. So last year was our first year doing devised instead of like one acts, and so I directed at this camp when I was in college as kind of like it's kind of like the senior theater certs, like it's almost in place of like a thesis project, like paper or something like that. It's like an actual like directing, with kids experience. So I did it when I was in college, and then the format of the camp has since changed, and so now the certs kind of assistant direct, and they bring in teachers to direct. And they started doing that. I think this past year was the last year. So I came in last year, and um, you they come in, we have auditions, and then but you're not really auditioning them for a show, you're auditioning them for like an ensemble, right? And then we devise a show from the ground up, and it was such a cool experience. And like middle school, they're smart and they're great. um and I don't want it to sound like they're not smart or anything, but high school is just like they're further along in their brain development.
Yeah.
They're able to think a little differently. So I'm excited for that. Um I'm really excited. The high school that I'm moving into has some pretty cool stuff planned for next year, so I'm really looking
Right.
forward to it.
Sometimes I think, because my wife was a middle school teacher, and I'm still very good friends with people that were in middle school and are in middle school as
Mhm.
educators. Sometimes I don't. I'm convinced that it's not necessarily the kids; it's the parents' expectations that
Yeah.
are. And you don't need to speak on it because I don't want you to get in trouble. But that are uh, uh, the reason why some of that advanced or higher thinking, those scripts, those stories are not done because the parents are like, no, my baby should be doing some fluff material, that kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but
I luckily didn't run into that problem too much.
okay,
Which, I was at a Title I school, so the parents of my students have really busy lives
right,
and things. But yeah, I was able to do some cool stuff with them. We did the Yellow Boat, we did And a Child Shall Lead.
okay,
Um, what else? I'm like blanking, but I was able to do a little bit,
yeah,
deeper stuff with them. So that was pretty cool. But then, in the spring we would do something like, you know, Game of Tiaras or
Right,
Alice
right.
in Wonderland, something that's a little just more fun for
Yeah,
them and stuff
yeah.
like that.
I remember seeing a show about like cell phones, like a middle school doing a show, just everybody's on cell phones. Anyway,
Yeah.
very fluffy. What
Yes.
are you going to have? Do any of your students or some of the students that you've had, are they at the high school that you're going to, or
Um,
is it not the same zone or whatever?
it's different, like, yeah, it's a different feeder
Okay,
system.
okay,
So I was on the south side of town, and I'll be on the north side of
okay,
town. There was, like, a weird thing that happened in Belton when the high school opened. The high school that I'm going to is only this will be its 4th year, I
okay.
think, open. Um, so before it opened up, like, there were 4 middle schools, and they all went into Belton High School, which
Right.
is where Melissa is. And, when the new high school opened, they kind of rezoned everything. So I have, like, a couple
Okay.
students that I had that are now at Lake High School, but most of them are at BHS, because they would have went to North
Right.
Belton Middle School. So
Okay.
I have a few, but like I seriously think maybe like 1 or 2.
Right.
So
So what is it that, like, you sort of touched on it. You said when you were 13, you decided you wanted to be a theater teacher.
mhm.
That's very rare that
Yeah.
somebody decides that young, that not that they want to be a teacher, but that they want to specifically teach theater.
Mhm.
Because there are a lot of people that decide young that they want to teach. Uh,
Right.
like, what was it? I mean, if you thought about it when you were 13 and decided on it, you had to have it kind of had to have been festering even before that. So
Yeah.
what was it that kind of got you on that train to want to dive into being a theater teacher?
Um so it's kind of funny how I ended up in theater. I was like a diehard like soccer kid
Okay.
growing
It's
up.
like my daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, and, going into 7th grade, I was supposed to be so my 6th grade teacher, like, recommended me for the advanced theater class for 7th grade, and, I didn't do it because I wanted to play soccer, and then I met Katrina Keener, and I highly regretted it, as people who know her would understand, and, so I, like, tried to get in that year, and of course, she's like, "Oh, like, I can't really put you in mid-year, whatever." So then I did it in 8th grade. But in 7th grade, like our one act was not out of the class. So I was able to audition for one act. And I almost didn't do it, but one of my best friends was doing it. And I was like, oh, okay, like the play sounds fun. Well, they were doing To Kill a Mockingbird, and I got the role of Scout. And I was like, oh no, what have I, gotten myself into? Um, but I ended up loving it so much. It was the best experience. And I caught the theater bug or whatever. And so I was like, this is kind of fun and just kind of stuck with it. And then I think doing that, silly little student direct or whatever, I got to see like that side of it. And I was like, wow, I really like being able to like see the whole picture, um, and kind of like facilitate what's going on and stuff like that. Um, which I don't think that was clicking as a 13-year-old. I think I was just like, this is a great time. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what sent me into that. And then of course Katrina saying like, have you thought about teaching? And because she was just like my role model, and everything.
Right.
So um yeah, so I thought about it and I was like, I think I would like that. And of course it started out as like, oh, I want to do theater all day, every day. But then as I got older, like, of course, it became more of about the kids. And my senior year, I actually had an opportunity. So I quit dance team after my junior year, which freed up my first period. And so I got an opportunity to go shadow, I guess, or like do a little like mini student teaching situation with
Yeah.
Katrina back at the junior high. And that's when it really like because I like I said kind of been going back and forth of like, am I sure this is what I want to do because this is getting really real, like I'm about to graduate. um and so being able to do that really really like sealed the deal for me of like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I got to help her with one act and actually like see how classes are from the teacher side and stuff like that. And I just had a blast. It was every day, it was like a battle to leave and go to high school and like
Right.
be a student because I just wanted to stay there all day. So
That's good.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
your heart is in it. Yeah. Um, that's fun. So you just glossed over you were on dance team. So are you a musical theater? trained person, or
Um,
can you
n-
dance and you just do theater, that kind of thing?
yeah, so I started dancing, I think I was 11.
Okay.
Um, and just immediately, like, dance and theater were like on the same level for me. I loved both of them so much. Um, and then yeah, danced all throughout junior high, all throughout high school. And then I ended up quitting after my junior year just because it had, um, I don't, there were just some things I didn't love
Right.
about it
Sure.
anymore. And I ended up, I quit school dance team, but I got back into studio, dance, which I am really, really thankful that I did because it was a really amazing experience. Um, and so I'm not it. I'm not super musical theater trained. It's always
Right.
just been kind of dance and theater, like, running parallel to each other, I
Right.
guess. I'm also not a fantastic singer. I really wish I would have had vocal training growing up. Um, that's like a one thing I really wish I would have done in high school is like be in choir or get vocal training or something, because now as a theater teacher, like, it's like I don't always know how to help with things like that. And obviously the choir teachers are that's what they're there for.
Right.
But like I wish I had a little bit more knowledge in that area. So but I do I have like choreographed for musical, showcases and stuff like that. So yeah,
You can
I
hold your
do.
own. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Sure.
sure.
Uh, you mentioned soccer as well. Did you stop soccer cold turkey?
I
Seventh grade or
did.
whatever.
Yeah, I quit soccer after, well, I quit outdoor soccer after 8th grade.
Okay.
I wanted to play in high school, but it was after school and I had to choose soccer or theater, and obviously theater won over.
Right.
I played indoor for like one more year and then I played intramurals in college. So I still enjoy it. Like, I'll still get out there with my nephew and kick the ball around and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I I had to give it up for theater. So
I think we're
here
about
we
to,
are.
yeah, we're about to venture down that path with my
Yeah.
oldest as deciding one or the other. So, but we'll see. They got to make big decisions. So you mentioned also the camp, the Texas State camp.
Hmm.
Um, what is it about camp that kind of surprised you when you first started? I'm assuming as a student at Texas
Hmm.
State you had to assist with it or do something with it, or um, but then when you started kind of leading things, camp's a whole different beast,
Yeah.
because it's so truncated and it's so, we're putting on a show tomorrow pretty much.
Right.
What is it about that experience that kind of helped you potentially become a better teacher just
Yeah.
in the classroom?
Well, doing it as a student, like I said, the I guess layout, the format was different in that the students were directing the shows. So I was partnered up with another girl who's one of my super close friends, um, and we directed Proof together, which was, oh, so I love that show so much. I hope to do that show again someday, but like, as a teacher and not a student. Um, but I guess what really helped me become a better teacher was that first time as a student was just learning like time management of rehearsals, because we had 2 weeks. So getting together a one act in 2 weeks and having to do everything, all the tech, all of the acting, not all of it because I had a partner director, but like us together having to get everything completed in 2 weeks while also keeping in mind the mental well-being of the students, because it's a lot to do a show in 2 weeks, and making sure they weren't getting burnt out. And some of them were also in multiple shows. So sharing, that was a big lesson of sharing students, because that's how it is in public education, of course. And, or I guess, anything that's not professional theater, you're going to be sharing kids, and in education is what I mean. But yeah, so just learning all of those skills, time management, scheduling around their schedules, making sure that they're okay, making sure that we're okay, and getting all of that stuff done. And like, having to do it in such a limited amount of time. I like going into teaching, I was like, wow, I have 8 weeks now to do all of this stuff. So yeah. And then coming back as a teacher and directing as someone who had been teaching for 4 years at that point last year. Um, it was the whole other side of, I guess, like, wow, there's a lot of there's a lot that could go wrong, right? And it was set up so great. Like I said, the Velosta, the one that sets everything up, is like incredible. Her brain is the most organized place in the whole world. But it was just the side of like, because with middle school, we don't do overnight stuff. We don't do anything too crazy. So with the high school students, like I not only were we directing the shows, we were staying in the dorms with them. We were administering their medication and stuff like that. So I guess I think your question was what surprised me the most about camp. And it was just that like the responsibility of like how kind of heavy that responsibility
Right.
is when you're in charge of not only like the kids' well-being and the show and all that, but like just seeing through their day to day for 2 weeks straight was a big, I
Yeah.
guess, like learning curve a little bit.
In the words of Stained, it's been a while since I've done a tech tip, just the tip of the tech tippity tech. This is gonna be short and sweet. So I had a friend send me pictures of mold growth in their auditorium, which will remain nameless. The friend and the auditorium, and the mold was all over the seats. It was all over armrests. It was all over carpeting, and it's going to lead to thousands, tens of thousands of dollars worth of repairs. And it's all because they wanted to save some money on running air conditioning. And now the bill is going to be exponentially more than it would have been if they had just run it for 10 weeks, right? Or like normal even, because you're not growing mold during the school year. So my tech, just the tip of the tech this week is to maybe when you're trying to fight for should we run AC or should we not during the summer when you're fighting your maintenance people? Why don't you ask a friend who you know has had issues for the bill, um, and the repairs of those issues and how long it might have taken and how medically detrimental it is to you and your students and the administrators and people coming to visit. Why don't you ask your friends for that? And then if your maintenance department or the people making those decisions are still refusing to turn on the AC, then let them do it, man. Let them keep it off for 10 weeks and let that mold just grow, baby, grow. I love a good mold. Sexy. I used to assist with the Fort Bend ISD camp for a few years, and I gave the curtain speeches in one of the two spaces that we had shows, and I would always say, we from day one to now, which has only been 2 weeks, we've produced this massive show, and I would joke with the parents like, so now you're probably wondering why it takes 8 weeks when we're in school to do the same
Yes.
thing. There's a quality that goes with the 8 week process, and different things like that. But anyway, it's kind of funny that you can do all that and put on a pretty dang good show in 2 weeks. And then it
Yeah.
takes, school year, it's like 6, 8, 10 weeks.
Right. I mean, and granted, that's all we were doing all day.
Right,
Well, they would
right,
do like classes in the morning
right,
and then rehearsals in the afternoon. So it's not like we were having to wait for them to get out of school or
right.
whatever. But yeah, still like 2 weeks is not a lot of,
Yeah,
not a
that's
great
funny.
amount of time.
Is
So,
there something, and I don't want you to incriminate Texas State because they have a very good program.
mhm.
Um, that said, I work for University of Houston, so I mean we're better. But
Okay.
anyway, I digress. But is there something that when you started teaching, when you entered the classroom, that not any fault to Texas State, but that they just didn't ever touch on when you went in and you were shocked? For instance, I was alt cert, so
Mhm.
they don't talk about 95% of what you're actually going to do. They talk about the ideal classroom and
Right.
all this kind of stuff, and everything is perfect, and you can de-escalate a student within seconds and all this kind of stuff, right? Um,
Right.
is there something that you were like, man, we never actually talked about that, or I didn't get trained on that? What was it that kind of surprised you there?
Um, gosh, I
Or
I
did they or
honestly
did they prep you?
I I mean, I feel like they prepped me for everything that they could have,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Um, like I said, like, Velocity's so great, like, she was really good about being very transparent about, like, this is how it really is,
yeah,
you know? Um, I feel like I was prepared for everything they could have prepared me for, if that makes sense, because you can talk at a like future teacher until you're blue in the face, but like there are things they're not going to know until they're in a classroom. And even if you say like, hey, this is what you should do, like it's different in the situation, you know? So I guess like, I don't know, I guess I'm trying to think of a specific thing. It's a learning curve. It's just going to be like, there's no amount of training that can prepare you for having 150 kids a day and them all having high levels of needs. And like it's just stuff like that. Like, yes, I had the tools I needed, but just applying them was, I guess, like the biggest learning curve of like, wow, okay, these are real kids, these are not theoretical kids anymore. um and like, how do I make sure that I'm reaching every single one of them? um so I guess I don't know if that answers your
Yeah, just
question.
I guess the application, the real life application,
Right.
which is not something you're going to be able to get unless you're
In
doing
there.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that makes total sense. Uh, with with middle school, was that where you wanted to be when you entered into education? Was middle school?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Why?
had had I had had my heart set on middle school for a while. I also
Okay.
considered elementary.
Oh my gosh,
um
you are
yeah.
you love punishment. All right.
I
Yeah.
I I'll circle back to that in a second,
Okay.
but, yeah, I did half of my student teaching in an elementary school, and, it was so much fun, but I think it was so much fun because my cooperating teacher, Joseph Daly, was, like, the goofiest person that's ever existed in this entire world, so we literally just had, like, the most amount of fun
Right.
every single day, but that was mostly us just being goofy and silly. And so in the summers, I've been teaching. So before camp, I've been teaching elementary school theater at summer school as like an enrichment class for a couple of years now. And every year, I'm like, yeah, this is not for me. I like
Yeah.
they're so cute, and it's fine for 3 weeks, but like long term, I just can't. You have to be so repetitive with the littles, and that makes me feel like a crazy person.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was pretty set on middle school. I didn't want to teach high school right out of college. That was intimidating to me. And also, I had had experience in middle school. I had had experience in high school too from block and student teaching. But like during that time that I mentioned, my senior year, where I was helping with the junior high theater stuff, really, like, I knew I liked that age group a
Right.
lot. So,
And with the elementary school kids, is what district was that in? Because not a lot of districts have elementary. It's like paint with your fingers, and
right,
there's not a lot of theater type of stuff, or like hit this can so that you can make a drum kind of thing.
right.
Uh, where was that?
Um, Yeah, it was in Round Rock.
Oh, okay.
Round Rock has a couple of arts integration schools, which is really cool, and that's kind
Yeah,
of what made me wanna do elementary because I really like arts integration. I like the idea of getting through to kids' brains on topics that aren't theater by using theater.
gotcha.
And so it was cool. We would meet up with, like, they're not called core teachers in elementary. I don't know what it
Yeah, I
like,
don't know.
regular
I don't
the
pay attention.
gen
My
ed.
both of my
Yeah.
kids are, yeah, but anyway, yeah,
Like the classroom teachers, we would meet up with like a grade level and be like, all right, what are y'all learning this week? Okay, here's so there was one designated day a week for each fine arts.
I got you.
So music, theater, dance, all the things.
Right,
And the teacher one day a week would not have any classes come to their room. They would actually go into classrooms and help like teach these lessons with theater. So, like, for example, oh, in science, we're learning about the water cycle. So, we're going to do a narrative pantomime and act it out or whatever, stuff like that. So, that was pretty cool. I enjoyed it a lot.
I can just imagine a water cycle lesson with theater. I don't know if you know who Gallagher is, the comedian. He's,
Yes.
yeah, smashing pumpkins or smashing watermelons, but um, I could just picture, like you just said that, and I'm picturing like my 6-year-old just, in a
Being a rain cloud.
just being a rain cloud and just like spitting on kids and being like, "Here's a water
Yes.
cycle."
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
It was
So
fun.
I want to talk about something. This is fresh on my mind because we discussed it, or I discussed it with somebody a couple days ago about kind of women in tech theater, right?
Mhm.
And you and I both know Mel Edwards, um, and uh, even Cheryl Painter, who's very technically savvy, and
Yeah.
there are quite a few people that that I know as well. And these are strong, smart, skillful, hold their own. Could live alone on an island and probably outlive a lot of people, right?
Anyone. Yes.
Um, I don't know how you would outlive anyway if you're alone, but whatever, you know what I mean. So,
I know what you mean.
yeah.
I gotcha.
So, and you seem to be somebody that has a good grasp on what you know and what you don't know, right?
Mhm.
Or you don't know what you don't know, but you seem to know that I need to improve in this area and that area. What is it that is either changing or still missing or whatever it is about kind of, and this is kind of a hard-hitting question, this is my Oprah Winfrey question, that is still kind of missing with women in tech theater, and why aren't there are a lot of women designers, a lot of female
Mhm.
designers, very very good ones, Tony Award winning ones. I'm friends with a couple of them, not the Tony Award winning ones, just female designers. I wish I was,
Yeah.
um, but like, what is it about that sort of stigma that door hasn't been completely busted down? It's just kind of cracked open a little bit.
Oh gosh, I'm not sure if I have an
Well,
answer to that because I haven't been in tech theater yet.
yeah,
Um, I don't know. All I know is that the women who are doing it. Like
yeah,
they're out here killing it. I mean, I'm sure it's just a thing of, the industry's been a certain way for a certain amount of time and it's hard to change things. And
right.
but outside of that, I don't have anything super insightful to say because I haven't been in that realm yet, or
is
not for very long at least.
is there
Um,
something you're going to make sure you do for your students, whether they be male or female or whatever,
mhm.
um, that you ensure that they have the same kind of confidence that you seem to be exuding as well?
Um, I just hope to empower them that anything is learnable,
Right.
Like I I had this conversation with a elementary girl yesterday who completely shut down because she couldn't do the tongue twister that I was teaching them.
Yeah.
Um and just the thing of like, if you give up because you're not getting it right away, like you're doing yourself a disservice, especially these kids that are I'm going to be with high school that are about to leave theater and be a member of society and I hope to instill in them not just in tech but through tech, I guess, that you don't, you can't just decide you're not going to do it because it's hard,
Right.
and it doesn't matter if you're a girl, you can still build the things and make the things and yeah, I don't know. I hope to model that for them this year because I'm going to be learning as I go a
Yeah.
lot.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
I was feeling really insecure about that at first because I'm like, gosh, they're going to know so much more than me. Like, but I think it's a really good opportunity to model for them that, hey, I don't know these things, but I'm going to stick around and figure it out. And I'm not going to, you know, leave or give up or whatever. Um, so I'm trying to see it as an opportunity and not as a like thing to be so nervous
Right.
about because I think it is important for kids to see adults not know what they're doing sometimes
Yeah.
and and work through it openly, I
Right.
guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You seem to be wiser than maybe your age puts you on to be. Has that always kind of been a thing?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I would like to think so.
The least wise answer you just gave was about being wise. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you seem to understand and have a good grasp on. This kind of has a negative stigma to it, but your ego seems to be sort of, for lack of better words, in check, and you kind of know. Because I don't know you at all, right? And so this
Yeah.
is just me getting to know you over the past 35 minutes now. You seem to have a really good sense of who you are, and I think that this is not a question. Just me being a pep talk, but I think that that's going to do you well in high school, uh, as a teacher, not as a student. That would suck if you went back, but back to the future for Shelby. But
Oh god,
um,
absolutely
but
not.
yeah, but I think the kids are going to gravitate to that. I think, and also correct me if I'm wrong, but Ty is relatively new as well. Um,
Yeah, this will be his second or third, I think
yeah.
second year. Yeah.
Well, Ty's on the list that I was given by my podcast pimps, and it said the note on the list was first year director. So,
Yeah,
and that was last year. So,
right.
um, another thing that I wanted to touch on, I just kind of had an aha moment. Your sort of beginning of teaching got quite interrupted, right?
Oh,
By
it
COVID,
did.
right? So,
Yes.
what for you? Because that had to. I can't imagine. Hold on to the reins for a second while my brain kind of works this out.
I'm
But
with you.
thank you. Appreciate the patience. It's like talking to my wife. But or they say that you're not proficient at something until you do like what 10,000 hours or something, and
Mhm.
in teaching it's like 3 years. You don't really have a comfort level of teaching until you're done with year three. Yet
Yeah.
yet you got like literally smacked in the face with a pandemic.
During year 2.
Yeah, I was going to say with before year three was complete for sure.
Right.
So what was that like for you to? I hate this p word. It's negative now, but pivot. What was it like for you to do that so early, and especially with kids that get distracted by a speck of
Everything.
dust, on the wall, kind of thing? Uh,
Yeah. It was hard. I had a really good first year of teaching. Of course, I had no idea what I was doing like everyone else. Um, but it was it was really like heartbreaking to that second year to not be able to finish it out as it was for everyone, especially as theater teachers who spend so much time with these kids. But just in terms of being a new teacher, um, that when COVID hit and we finished out that year online, it wasn't terrible in terms of, I guess, just the expectations were kind of low. Hopefully Belton isn't mad at me for saying that. But like,
I think that's true
yeah.
everywhere. Yeah,
It was just kind of like, give them a couple of choices. And especially for electives, I'm sure it was different for the core teachers, but
yeah,
um, I was posting choice boards of things that would get them moving and, make them think a little bit, hopefully. And um, it was really fun, like seeing the work that they could come up with and stuff like that. But it was hard because we had canceled shows. And, this was my first group of eighth graders that I had had for more than 1 year. So not getting to end the year with them. And I literally like hand wrote letters to every eighth grader and like mailed them out in the mail because I was just so sad that I didn't get to finish out the year with them. But that next year, though, I will say was the hardest year
right.
probably because it was hybrid. And hybrid teaching was an absolutely ridiculous thing to be asked of us. And that's not anything towards Belton. I
No,
mean, how
I
many,
mean that's the state of Texas. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Um, it was just, it was awful. Like, I just constantly felt like I was not giving enough to my in person students or my at home students.
right,
Like, I felt like I was just constantly doing both sides a disservice because there's one of me. And,
right.
you know, I couldn't be with my in person students while also be standing at my computer helping my online students. And it was a hard year. Everyone was frustrated. And then, yeah. And then the after effects of COVID have just been
Yeah.
insane. Like,
I-
kids are,
Is there anything that because you were so young in the classroom at the time? Is
mhm.
there anything that you did take away from it positively that you don't think? I mean, I guess you really don't know, but that you don't think you would have necessarily applied or implemented to the classroom or even to discipline and things like that. Is there
Mhm.
something that you kind of took from that experience that you have applied to the classroom?
Um,
Maybe techniques and how to deal with certain behavior. I know that's one of the things I took. So,
yeah. I guess it just made me take a step back and think about like what's important big picture,
yeah. Okay.
because during that time, like some of these kids, like I said, in a Title I district were having to go somewhere else just for Wi-Fi,
Right.
or, we're having to come up to the school for lunch and stuff like that. And it just puts things in perspective of like some of these kids are not super concerned about school right now, and I can't really blame them for that
Right.
type of thing. Um, and so I guess that mentality has kind of stuck with me a little bit, of just remembering that people's situations are different and to not forget that even when the kids are being kids
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
So I guess that would be one big thing. And then also, I mean, it forced me to be super organized.
Sure.
Like many theater teachers, my brain goes in 10 million different directions at once. And so I definitely had to learn some tools and stuff to make myself, make sure I was hitting everything. So I guess that's another thing that came out of it.
So I want to get you out of here on this. It, you have a unique story compared to a lot of people. They're doing this now over 200 times. I've heard pretty much three different themes of a story. It
Hmm.
is, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I didn't know I wanted to be a teacher, and I have never. I didn't. I was not raised in Texas. Those are like the three like kind of
Yeah.
unique. Um, and you have the. I knew I wanted to be a teacher when I was young, and I know we discussed it quite a bit already. But what I want you to do is kind of think about um, some there are no 13-year-olds listening to this, and if there are, I apologize, but to reach out to me and let me know that you're listening and tell me why. But for teachers um, that are in a classroom with students that show that interest, right,
Hmm.
of teaching, something you touched on, and I'll get there in a second. Again, hold on to the reins. Something you touched on very, very early in the conversation, kind of in your journey story, is you knew at 13, and when you said it in high school, that your director took you and said, "Here's all the nuts and bolts, not the artistic side, but the like
Right.
the work side, the producer side, I guess, if you will, or the management side." But it probably left an imprint on other students thinking, why is Shelby getting this type of treatment? It's different. Why don't we get that same type of treatment? There's always that kid that finds it to be unfair, right?
Right.
So I guess I don't know how to put this question, but like I know what I'm trying to say, but this is very rare for me to be tongue-tied when it comes to this. But what I was thinking about is, I too had those students that Emily Bockham was one of those students that I knew she wanted to be a teacher, and I knew it, and so I
Mhm.
I treated her different because she needed to know reality, in my
Yeah.
opinion, and. But then there were people that were like, "You, Emily's your favorite. Emily's your favorite. You're always, she's always with you, always." And it wasn't because, I mean, I loved Emily. I still love Emily. She's great, and she's teaching theater, but she was treated much different. I, I, gu- I guess my question, I'm stalling for myself as well because I'm trying to figure out how to form a question with this, but I guess it's more about like the type of advice you would give a teacher, old or young,
Mhm.
on maybe how to go about cultivating and allowing the student that says, I want to do this for a living, how to sort of make it look fair. That's a horrible way to put it. I'm so disappointed in myself for for ending with a really crappy question, but I just don't know how to like get you to speak on like how to frame it so that that director is giving you everything you need, but also still making it
Mhm.
appear fair. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah,
Because
no, that
okay,
makes
okay,
sense. Because I definitely was doing a lot and spending a lot more time in the black box and things in high school. I think for me, I feel like I'm pretty good about just being really honest with kids, um, and talking to them, and you know, I know every public education teacher is sick of hearing build relationships, but I think it just comes down to really like if your students know your heart and you're telling like I literally I think would just say like she or he is doing these things because this person wants to teach theater, and these are things that they need to know. And if you think you might be interested in teaching theater, I can give you some responsibilities as well, but this is why I'm doing this. um, and I think just giving, like, offering the same opportunities to students who show interest, I guess, and then just having those conversations of like, this is why they're doing this. um, and I like, just thinking in terms of like, in the past when I've appointed kids to do random things and kids have been like, well, why are they doing it? And I'm like, well, I've seen that they can sew, or I've seen that, you know, um, oh, this girl put together a really cool costume for a dress up day. So I'm going to have her do costumes, help on costumes for Alice or whatever, like, I think it really just comes down to talking and taking the time to just talk to your kids. I think we can get so rehearsal driven that we forget to do that sometimes. And I think it's important um, to take that time and just have conversations with them. Because they'll tell you, kids will tell you if they're feeling a certain type of way or whatever. So I don't know. I guess that was kind of a
That's
roundabout.
no, the rehearsal driven thing. That's could talk on that for hours. All right. Well,
Yeah.
good. Yeah. You answered the question. Very good.
Minor wisdom.